Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to Ramacrow. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from Mac. Let's listen to what Mac has to say.
Hi, Lloyd. My name is Mac. You do have my permission to use this if you feel like it in a video. Um, I guess my question is, do you have any advice on how to deal with family members that shun you most of the time, and the small percentage of the time that they do talk to you, they're trying to convince you to come back? Little backstory for you. My wife and I woke up about a year ago. We ended up disassociating in June, and we're getting divorced right now, unrelated to everything else. And my parents, mostly my mom, will occasionally talk to me, text me. She's come over, shut her location off on her phone so that no one can know she's over here, which should say a lot to her, but she doesn't even think that that's a problem. My dad has sat down and talked to me, basically saying sometimes you have to do things for family that you don't want to do. Basically, suck it up and come back so that our lives are easier. They have said once my wife is gone, because she's still living with me, she's trying to find a place. Once she's out of the house, promise me you'll come back. I'm like, no, I'm not coming back. So they're under the impression that I left just because of my ex-wife, and that once she's gone, everything will go back to normal. I've emphasized repeatedly to them that that is not the case. If anything, I woke up first and then shared information with her that caused her to wake up, not the other way around. But so I guess my question is, short of just straight up blocking them, because I did block their phone numbers for a little bit. I tried to share my viewpoints because they kept saying, I don't understand why you left. And so I shared them. I typed up a letter, shared it with them, and my mom didn't even read it. My dad said he read a little bit, but said my arguments were weak, and then that he was disappointed in me. So I was like, you know what? They're going to pretend that I'm dead. I'll just pretend that they're dead. And so I blocked their phone numbers, deleted their numbers from my phone. That lasted about a month. And then they just showed up randomly at my door, asked if I wanted to go get ice cream, which made no sense to me. But I was like, sure. I went. So I unblocked my mom's number, and she texts me occasionally. But every time she talks to me, it's like she's planning on me coming back once my wife moves out, no matter how many times I say to her that that's not going to happen. And it's not just like, come back to the meeting. She's got in her mind loopholes for how I could get remarried as a witness after being divorced for something that's not adultery. That's where she's going with it in her mind. So she clearly thinks that I just did this for my wife, and I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. But so I guess my overall question is, how would you, or if you've talked to people that have been in similar situations, how should I go about dealing with this without saying, like, leave me alone, I'm not coming back? I don't want to drag on the pain that I'm sure they're experiencing because they think their son is going to be destroyed at Armageddon now. I don't want them to have this false hope. But I also, I don't want to be hounded about this for the rest of my life. So if you have any advice or any thoughts on this, that'd be great. If you don't want to use this in a video, that's fine, whatever. Just thought I'd try this out. Thanks, Lloyd. Bye.
Thank you so much for leaving that voicemail. What a difficult situation. It feels like you have two massive challenges that you're grappling with. It's hard enough navigating the situation with your wife, You mentioned you both disassociated in June, and you're going through a divorce, and that's frankly stressful enough. You know, divorce is one of the most stressful things that could happen to a human being. It's an incredibly stressful situation to go through. And on top of all of that, you are essentially being bullied by your parents into rejoining a religion that you no longer believe. They're even saying to you, I couldn't believe this, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do for your family. Well, I don't know whether that was exactly how it was worded, but if you don't want to do it, then you shouldn't do it. And what does it say about Jehovah if he wants you worshipping him even if you don't want to worship him? That would be my question. When your father comes up with that sort of gibberish, I'd be saying, so Jehovah really wants me worshipping him in name only, even though I don't want to. That's the sort of God we're talking about here. That's the sort of God you worship. It makes no sense whatsoever. I'm going to be completely honest. You know, you have asked for my advice. I think the usual disclaimer applies, unfortunately, because you are going through not one but two traumatic events in your life. And if you haven't already sought out help from a mental health professional, I strongly advise that you do that. That's a given, I think, based on what you've described. But if you want my advice on how to deal with this particular situation of your parents trying to bully you back into the religion and not taking no for an answer, you know, that they're refusing to accept your input. I found it interesting as well when you mentioned that you wrote them a letter, because that's actually something that I did back when I was first waking up. I found the whole situation of essentially departing from the religion I'd followed my whole life and explaining that to my wife, I found that so intensely stressful that the only way I could really communicate what I was going through was to write a letter and to just explain everything. And then I could be precise. I could use exactly the words that I wanted to use. And I could convey something that was very emotional to me as succinctly as I could. And I think as well, there's something to be said for, you know, something being in writing. Once it's in writing, it's very final, isn't it? And so for you to go to all of that trouble to write down your thoughts and feelings on paper, and for them to just dismiss it, in your mother's case, not read it, and in your father's case, read only a little bit, and based on that, say that your arguments are weak. I'm sorry, these are, well, what you're describing at least, are toxic parents. I wouldn't stand for that sort of behavior. And in your situation, you know, it's very easy for me to say as an outsider looking in, maybe it's not as simple as this for you for whatever reason. But I think the problem here is that you're trying to set boundaries, and these boundaries are being routinely violated. Just routinely. They just do not care what you want and what you need. And if they absolutely cannot stand the thought of reading what their own son has written down on a deeply emotional subject, in your shoes, I would invite them over or go over to their house, whatever, and I would sit them down and I would say, here's what's going to happen. I will not be preached to. I consider my religious upbringing to have been traumatic. I have no interest whatsoever in rejoining the Jehovah's Witness religion. You need to understand that and respect my right as an adult to reach that decision and quit this incessant bullying, effectively, to make me rejoin a religion that I no longer believe in. Now, if you're happy to do that and have a relationship with me anyway, where we talk about anything other than religion, then I'm happy to continue to have you both in my life. But this isn't even like a 3 strikes and you're out deal. This is a 1 strike and you're out deal, because I've already given you multiple chances to respect my wishes, and you have flagrantly ignored those chances. So this is a 1 strike and you're out deal. Either you accept my terms or we don't have a relationship. That's just the way I would deal with things. Again, maybe it's just because I've reached an age where I have 0 tolerance for BS. But I think this is a case of communication, and it's a case of standing your ground and being unambiguous and setting clear boundaries. Again, on a 1 strike and you're out deal, you know, you don't get to see how close to the perimeter you can get, or maybe even see if you can get over the perimeter. No. Here's the boundary. You're going to respect it, or we don't have a relationship. That would be what I would communicate to your parents. But human relationships are difficult. I don't know the nuances of your relationship with your parents, whether there's some reason why you need to put up with this. But it doesn't sound healthy, does it? It sounds like you are sick and tired of it. I mean, if you want me to tell you that they are just going to stop, if you utter the right wording to them, I mean, I guess it's possible, but in my experience, when we're talking about die-hard, devout Jehovah's Witnesses, they only have their coding to go off. They only have their programming, their years of indoctrination. And all of that is screaming at them, we need to salvage our son to the organization before he gets killed at Armageddon. So if you want to know what I predict, it's that they will not respect your boundaries, even if you sit down and explain, you know, on a take it or leave it basis what your boundaries are. But I think it would be worthwhile having a conversation anyway, just so you have a little bit of closure and a little bit of peace of mind. You know, this is the date on which I sat down with my parents and I explained things to them, and I made everything abundantly clear so that there could be no ambiguity, and they didn't want to accept my boundaries. They didn't want to acknowledge my needs as an individual. And if that ends up being the case, which seems likely, my question would be, you know, why do you want people like that in your life? And I'm saying that as someone who is being shunned by his father and doesn't have a relationship with his father anymore. I just don't see why we need to have people in our lives who will not accept who we are as individuals if our beliefs differ from theirs. But that's all I have to say, really. I hope you found it helpful. If you would like to leave a voicemail, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message on this channel. By the way, I have had one or two commenting that the link isn't working. Trust me, the link does work. It's just that sometimes you might need to try a different browser or a different device, and it will work eventually. It's just that SpeakPipe can be a little bit unpredictable depending on precisely what browser or device you're using. But anyway, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for watching.